In today's video, I'm going to show you how to set up a two-person tent using shelter halves. Now what you need, two shelter half bundles and some type of tool like a hatchet for driving stakes in. Do not use your Kevlar helmet, it will crack it. So it's one of the good reasons for having a tool like a hatchet with you. Now this shelter half bundle I'm showing you is a US shelter half. It's canvas. The tent I'm going to put up, I'm using Danish Army shelter halves, which are rubberized. I do want to get a bunch more of those because they're a lot more waterproof than the canvas ones are. With the canvas ones, there is a side that goes to the outside and a side that goes to the inside. If you put the wrong side facing out, the canvas actually gets soaked and it gets really wet inside the tent. I found that out by mistake one night. But I don't have as much of an issue with that with the rubberized ones. Now, another big difference between the Danish Army ones and the US military ones is the buttons. You see on the US ones here, it is a snap type button. On the Danish ones, it's a different type, that there's a loop and the button that you have to connect together. Now, these bundles you put together yourself. It contains one shelter half, a tent rope, 3 tent pole sections, and 5 stakes. Now your rope is wrapped around the outside. Just undo it and wrap the rope. Now on the ropes, you have a loop on one end that is sewn onto the rope, and the other is a free end. Now unroll the bundle and everything's inside. You have a complete set. There's a few other minor differences between the US shelter half and the Danish one. I'll try to point them out as I go along. Now, what you do, lay your shelter halves out on the ground, overlap them on the ridge line. The ridge line has rows of buttons on it. The bottom half has loops on it, rope loops. Those are what your stakes get connected to. Lay one shelter half over the other, line up the eyelets for the tent poles, and then you hook your buttons together. The button from the bottom of the top one goes into the loop on the bottom. The button from the bottom one goes through the loop on the top. Go from one end all the way to the other, they will line up. Now next, take one set of your tent pole, stakes, and rope. Take your 3 pole sections, hook them together. Grab yourself 2 stakes, your hatchet. Go over your shelter half. Bring the bottom corners together and line up one batch of buttons on the bottom. Get them started. Same as you did the ridge line, it'll be the same pattern. Take your loops at the bottom, bring them together. Now your stakes, when you put them in the ground, you want to put them with the V facing the tent. Do not put it where the arrow basically is facing the tent. If you do that, it'll act like a snow plow in snow. It'll just pull its way right through the dirt. If you go with the V, as it's getting pulled forward, the dirt will keep piling up in front of it, holding it in place. So take our stake, put it through the ropes. Just get it started in the ground about halfway on the stake, because you are going to have to adjust it later. Take tent pole, put it inside the tent with the top of the pole facing towards the outside. Bring it up through the eyelets on top. Get it vertical. Take your other stake. You want to go 90 degrees right off of the tent pole. We're just getting that started quick. Grab our next one. Same way, 90 degrees off the pole. This one will be the first one that we're going to put down in the ground all the way. Then we go back, do this one. Now we move around towards the front here. Grab our 3 tent pole sections, 2 stakes, put sections together, run the inside quick, take our bottom corner, bring it together. Only do one of the buttons on the front, because you're going to open it up as your door flaps, so you don't need to do both the buttons when you're getting this started. Set the pole in the eyelet, get it vertical, try to pull it tight try to pull the ridge line tight if possible. Take stake, the bottom shelter half, the one that's underneath, will be the one that you use the loop on. Put the stake in that loop, press it in the ground, get it started. Pound it in. Your stake in the corner off of the pole. Pull the shelter, the side nice and tight. Grab another stake. Hold nice and tight. Grab a stake and our tent rope. Now, here's a major difference between the US ones and the Danish Army ones. In the US ones, we got a little loop up here on the canvas. You first take the loop on your rope, run it through that loop in the canvas, take your running end, pull it through the loop on the rope, pull it tight, and then you take the other end, stake it to the ground. This one doesn't have that, so you got to go off of top of your tent pole, go a few feet in front of the tent, start your stake, start wrapping your rope around it, pound it in. Get another good wrap. Tie it off on the stake so it's not going to slip. one of my tent stakes slipped because I didn't put it in at enough of an angle. When you put the stakes in, put them in at an angle, do not put them straight in. So now I'm going to take my other stake here, get this one set. Grab my remaining stakes and rope, go to the back, do the same thing that I did to the front rope. Get started around the stake. Put the stake all the way in. Pull the rope good and tight. Wrap it around once more, tie it off. Now at this time you may need to adjust the stake on the back on the shelter halves. And that'll be when you put it in all the way. And then do your last stake in the center. Then we're finished back here at the front. Open up our flap. And there you go, your entrance into your tent. Now, I will point this out. On the Danish ones I found, there's supposed to be 2 ropes. This one shelter half's missing one, the other one's got it. Take these 2 ropes, tie them off over your tent rope here to keep it in place, to keep it from pulling off of your tent pole. Now each tent is large enough for 2 people. You'll lay out 2 sleeping mats in there, one on that side, one on this side, sleeping bags on top. Your rucksacks will go on the ends inside the shelter. Unless your rucks are too large, they'll go on the side, and then cover them with a tarp or a poncho to keep them a little bit drier. As I said, there's a lot of similarities between this one and the US one. One big difference I'll point out is the Danish Army ones can also be used as ponchos, like the East German Zeltbombs. I have not tried that part yet. I have not set it up. But you got yourself 2-person tent. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and Militia movement, always remember, essayons.